Hi, I'm Dave Cohn. Welcome to our video series for Professional GBS. This is the last of 4 modules on operations. In this session, we will cover Part 2 of continuous improvement and share techniques to speed up your business services. We've done our planning by defining our objectives, measures, and documented our processes. Next, we focused on operational control by adopting good daily management practices and ensuring the best approaches are in place for incident and problem management. In this session, we will look at Part 2 of continuous improvement techniques that can enable us to improve quality, increase speed, and reduce cost. This is a great cycle to follow to professionalize your operations management. And remember, it is a cycle that periodically needs to be renewed as business priorities evolve. Here's a list of all the methods we are highlighting for process improvement interventions. It's an awesome collection of best practices that you should think about when reducing non-value-added time. We've separated these techniques into 4 areas: standardize or harmonize to reduce variance, Six Sigma to reduce defects and variability, simplify to reduce complexity, and ways to speed up by removing bottlenecks and waiting time. In the last session, we covered standardization and Six Sigma. In this session, we will look at ways to simplify and increase speed. To simplify, there are 3 techniques we will look at. Eliminate steps via value-added analysis, de-skilling, and bucketize. The first technique we will look at to simplify is value-added analysis. To review, processes are made up of 3 types of activities: those that add value to the customer, work that customers may not appreciate but is still required, perhaps for a government regulation, or effort to keep internal teamwork sharp, like team meetings. And finally, non-value-added work that we should look to eliminate. We need to ask ourselves, is there hidden cost to eliminate or complexity that isn't needed? A classic services example is inspection. So perhaps a mistake is made many years ago, and a decision is made to have a second person check. Now you have double the effort, with perhaps neither of the persons feeling fully accountable. By removing a person, you could save significant effort. This flowchart can help you look at and classify if your work is adding value. Ask yourself, is the work needed to produce the output? If not, is it required? As you work through the steps, ultimately you want to optimize your efforts that your customer values, reduce work that doesn't add value but is required for the business or the law, and eliminate work that adds no value, such as rework, inspections, and multiple approvals. Our second technique under our efforts to simplify is de-skilling. Can you have your more qualified FTEs focusing on higher value work and the more junior people doing the essential processes? Standard procedures and rule-based decisions are ways to achieve this. Be careful to talk about de-skilling work and not de-skilling people, so as not to demotivate your teams. Our final technique for simplification is to bucketize your efforts. This is a classic technique seen in rental cars, airport security, and customs. Can you organize your work into areas by customer, type of transaction, and so on? For example, certain customers may have specific requirements. Aligning internal teams for transactions dedicated to each top customer will pay off in productivity. Advantages include better utilization of experts on complex steps, and your new hires will need a shorter learning curve. Now we come to the final grouping of process improvement interventions. Here, we will leverage our value stream map to identify process steps where there is a large inventory pileup or long waiting time between steps. We ask ourselves, how can we remove bottlenecks in the process and speed up our work? Here are the techniques we will highlight. Using 24/7 via shifts or follow the sun. Starting feeder processes earlier. Doing load balancing. Restructuring teams. Using multiple machines. Reseating teams. Multi-skilling people. And revisiting prioritization rules. The first of our speed-up techniques is to see if you can do work around the clock, either via shifts or follow the sun. This is more doable if you have a global team. However, many business process outsourcing firms have the scale to offer this capability. For example, perhaps Asia can do work during their day and set up the US to be able to more quickly close the books. Next, let's look at starting feeder processes earlier. For example, if you were waiting on account reconciliations, perhaps you can begin that work a few days earlier and move remaining transactions to the following month. This is all about removing waiting times. Load balancing can help you correct uneven distribution of work. This one can really help. Perhaps you have one group that is always working overtime and another group that isn't quite as busy. You could be shifting some work or resources to flatten out the load. It will make your teams more efficient and reduce stress. Optimizing the structure of your team is another method to speed up work. To do this, you'll want to review processes end to end and then question the structure of the team that supports the process. Your interventions can either centralize or decentralize, break larger processes into smaller ones, or vice versa. Restructure based upon complexity, geographies, customers, or skills required. This can mean centralizing work that is being performed across different locations to drive efficiency. Reseating teams is similar to restructuring. Here we may benefit from placing team members in the natural flow of the process. You may be providing services to a demanding group, and perhaps there will be efficiencies in co-locating a member of your team on site. Do you have bottlenecks that are created by inefficient hardware? Multiple machines may help you. For example, your services team could benefit from a second or even a third monitor that could increase their efficiency and pay off in months. Multi-skilling is important to consider if you can benefit from training people to do multiple processes so they can help during busy times. A great example is in work that has peak times, such as closing the books. Here you may train others on your team that can flow to the work to speed it up and reduce a bottleneck. It's been a great journey covering the best process intervention techniques, and we've reached the final one. Here you may look at your prioritization rules. Perhaps you can speed up work by focusing on big customers or big dollar values. Oh, wait, we have a bonus technique. Can you reduce the number of transactions coming into your service? If you are a call center, perhaps you can work upstream to improve the service usability to drive down calls. Or work with your process owners to change thresholds on receipts required if you own expense tracking. We hope you enjoyed this session in our Professional GBS series. All the best as you professionalize, modernize, and transform.